Workers will prevail. We always have. Workers have been standing together since the biblical times, and we will continue to stand together. So any employer out there that's listening, share this with all your superintendents and managers. We're coming after you, so be ready. The message to our dockers, our brothers and sisters worldwide, is we're with you. Today is the beginning of a new day. It's important for all of us dockers to stand together and let the ILA know and all of its brothers and sisters, all of its rank and file and its leadership, that nobody walks alone. And large-scaled gangs doing hand cargo to containerization, and now we see the threat of all time with robotics and automation. But I think there's so much more to be done. Presidency is just a title. Unionism, activism, militancy, standing up for what's right for workers, that's going to be something that stays with me until the day that I die.
Welcome, bienvenidos to the IDC Dockers Podcast on the waterfront, the podcast where we interview our members, our people, and we learn a lot of our struggles. And today for us is a special day. We are here in New Jersey in the second day of the strike of the ILA, and I have the tremendous pleasure to introduce one of my best friends of the world, Bobby Olvera, President of the International Longshore and Warehouse Union from the west coast of the US. Thanks, Bobby, for accepting this invitation. For me, it's a pleasure, especially in this moment of a crucial moment for everybody. That we are suffering a lot of in the docks and these unfair moments with the ILA and with the Dennis and all the crew. So somebody like you to be here, to be present for us is an authentic pleasure.
Well, thank you, and it's a pleasure to be here, my brother.
Yeah.
This is an exciting time. It's important for all of us dockers to stand together and let the ILA know and all of its brothers and sisters, all of its rank and file and its leadership, that nobody walks alone.
Yeah, 100%.
Right?
Let's start with your life in the docks. When did you start? Yeah. So
on the waterfront, well, I think my first memory is sitting in the back of a Volkswagen Bug while my dad was unloading bananas off of a conveyor belt, probably in the early 70s.
Wow.
So I've been running around the docks my whole life.
A lot of things have changed from that time.
A lot of things have changed, right? From lots of workers and large-scaled gangs doing hand cargo to containerization, and now we see the threat of all time with robotics and automation.
And in your union life, so how you become the president of the International Longshore and Warehouse Union, one of the powerful unions of the world? How you become? You were also president of your dad in LA. You were our zone coordinator of the West Coast of IDC. So how your union life, how it's the evolution?
I think that unionism and militancy is in my blood, and I tried the best I could as a young man to get away. I joined the military, but everything brought me home to the docks. And I think any leader that says he had a plan to be the president or to be the general manager or the regional director, me personally, I think they're doing it for the wrong reasons. I think we fall into these jobs because the membership needs us, the union needs us. We have the passion in our hearts. We have the drive and the fire. So at each step, I've been grateful to be in a position, to have a voice for workers, to have a voice for dockers around the world, to share some solidarity and to let people know that, again, we're never going to walk alone again. And at each step, I've been grateful. So now I'm a president of the International, and I guess there's nowhere else to go in a sense of leadership, but I think there's so much more to be done. Presidency is just a title. Unionism, activism, militancy, standing up for what's right for workers, that's going to be something that stays with me until the day that I die.
Yeah, and something that we will speak later is that when the diplomacy fails, the militancy prevails. No?
That's right.
That is something that I learned from you, from Kenny, so from Dennis, of course, from Harold. And explain us a little about the youngsters. That some people ask in the last days, what the fuck is the youngster? Well, they call you the youngster. And we are the olders now. What the fuck?
Yeah, I'm 54 now. But yeah, we were the youngsters, Dennis and yourself and me, and I remember you even flew into LAX and had just a brief stopover so we could talk. And the talk was about what was happening in the world today, but also the vision of what global solidarity would look like, what it would really look like when Dockers came together. And we had the youngsters. It was you and I and Dennis, and we even had in the ILWU, we had our youngsters. They called us Mount Rushmore.
Yeah.
Right. All the youngsters that were always got something to say and always wanted to be out there and keep pushing the narrative. So I take that as a badge of honor.
Yeah, it's an honor. Honor. From your point of view, from your experience, which are the main challenges that we have as dog workers in the present and in the future? Which is your views?
Well, Dennis and I talked last night, just off to the side, and he had mentioned something about the ILA took 15 years to be ready for today. So I think when we look at challenges, there's always going to be challenges from our employers. They're always going to be coming after us. They're always going to be looking to take our jobs, to reduce our salaries, to reduce the safety on the job. But I think the very paramount challenge to Docker unions globally is what we do internally. Do we have our ducks in line internally? Are we talking to our rank and file? Is the membership engaged? Do we have leaders that have the membership at heart? So I think the first challenge is to make sure that we've assembled the right team of leaders, that we've engaged our rank and file from the bottom up, right? That we've engaged the workers. Because when we have that, and what do you say? When we're together, nothing is impossible. I think that's the major challenge. Once we overcome that, and I think there's help for everybody, small Dockers unions and large Dockers unions. We're going to help them become that union that their rank and file can be proud of, and that they can sit at a table with an employer, and the employer's not going to take them for granted. Now, once we sit with the employers, I think the challenges are the same across the board, whether you're in Europe or Asia or North America, and that's automation. That's getting our fair share of the global profits that these companies have made. And I think safety is a genuine concern for everybody. We see problems with lithium battery fires. We see problems with some of the hazardous materials. Reefer mechanics, we saw that just a few years ago with exploding reefers because of bad refrigerant. So safety, automation, making sure we have a job, and making sure that our salaries are comparable to what our managers are making, to what these companies are making. They can't be making 5 years worth of salary as a bonus and then tell Longshore men and women that they live in a 3% world. Take it or leave it. That's just not acceptable.
100%. You mentioned automation. Automation, we have been speaking so much. The ILA is leading the path now in the fight against automation, but people doesn't realize what it means really. They say, no, you are against the evolution. That's not true. What we are telling is, okay, new technologies are good for the business, of course, that's good. We cannot say we don't want new technologies, but these new technologies must be to help the people to the work, to be safer, more safety, not to eliminate their tasks and their jobs. That is what they are using. What do you think the future of the fight with automation? When we win this fight, this battle in the ILA, will be a good breaking point to other unions of the world, like the ILWU that is fighting also against automation. The MUA is fighting a lot of Europe unions too. What do you see in the future? How we can afford this kind of threat?
Well, I think, to be frank and to be really honest, I think when we look at automation, it's a lesson to be learned around the world, right? Of what you agree to at the table. What you throw across as far as your union demands and what you're willing to accept to take back to your membership. And I think we fought the fight incorrectly for a lot of years. We looked at automation as something that may never happen. It's a pie-in-the-sky dream. It's the Star Wars. It's just not going to happen. And, I think that we've learned how to combat it, right? You can combat it at the bargaining table and try to gain some protections and lay out some foundational procedures that help as far as manning. But at the end of the day, automation's bad. We've got to get the employers to say the things that they've been unwilling to say. This is not about efficiency, because automation doesn't work as fast as humans. When we're put to task, Longshore men and women can move more containers per hour than any robot can. It's not about the environment. We've seen that on the West Coast with the green technologies and everybody wanting to go electric. Every machine that has a robot controlling it can have a human controlling it. And it's not about safety. So when we put the employers to task and say, why do you want to automate? Like the example of Maersk in Los Angeles. We ask them point blank. It's not about efficiency. It's not about capacity. It's not about density. What is it about?
And laws and worse, see the security too.
Yeah, and it really is none of that. And they told us at the very end of the day, it's about cutting labor costs. Yeah. So I think when we fight taking away federal money or state money grants, taxpayer money, community money to pay for foreign companies to automate, when we've taken that away, that's a good step. When we create a narrative in the community that robots don't pay taxes, robots don't teach school or Little League, they're not part of the community, they're not part of the fabric of what makes that community strong, we have to take that next step and demand that these employers come into our communities and say, why do you want robots? Because at the end of the day, there's only one true answer, and that is that they're trying to save money by reducing labor costs. Any other answer that an employer gives you is a fabricated lie.
Yeah, 100%. Let me tell you something. I just been speaking with Dennis in the first podcast. We spoke about the views that we won a lot of battles, but we don't celebrate. You know, for example, here in the LA, in the East Coast, we won against the Waterfront Commission. We won against the leather terminal in South Carolina. Do you have this feeling that we won the battles and we say, okay, we won, let's go to the other one, and we don't have time to celebrate? No, this is a feeling that we have that say, okay, it's time to also say, we will win this battle now in the ILA, and we will celebrate, and we will be happy, and we will help the other ones, but we have to be happy, you know? And sometimes we have this feeling of, okay, we do what we have to do, but and we go to the next one, no? It's a feeling, no?
Yeah, and I think this is something that leaders have to learn, right? Is that as leaders, we have a battle every day. One leads into the next, and that leads into another one. But the rank and file members, they only have one or two in their lifetime. And when we win, we do need to celebrate because they want to celebrate, and they need to see their leaders celebrating as well. So I think this is a good opportunity when the ILA wins this contract for everybody to take a break, maybe half a day, right, and celebrate and really be proud of who we are and what we do as dockers around the world. But then the leadership, we need to be engaging and be ready to rock and roll the very next day, because somewhere right now there's a docker being taken advantage of. Somewhere right now there's a non-union docker having to do unthinkable things just to hold on to his paycheck. Somewhere in the world right now there's a docker whose life is at jeopardy because the employer doesn't care about their safety. So yeah, we're going to celebrate, but leaders need to always remember those individual victories are for the rank and file, not for the leaders. 100%.
Yeah, 100%. Okay, under Willie, Ed, and yourself, the relationship between the ILA and the ILWU, with Dennis, Harold, with Ken Raleigh, that had a key role, in the crucial time, is more united than ever. How do you see? I think we are in the best moment, no?
Yeah, I remember.
You remember a lot of things. We remember. We cannot say, but we remember a lot of things.
I remember seeing Kenny come to Local 13 in Los Angeles. And I was a young rank and filer, volunteering, doing some things, and I saw a man stand on the stage and talk about how he was thrown into jail for defending the rights of his workers. Yeah. And it paused my heart. It paused everything that I thought about of here in the United States, you're still jailing people who are trying to fight for their workers. So that relationship between the IDC, the ITF, ILWU, and the ILA, it's gotten better every single day that the youngsters have been around. I believe that. Nobody said that we would be able to sit at the same table and talk. We made that happen. There are relationships that were broken that have been fixed. And so every day I think we're building more and more momentum. And in the future, I can see a world where, as Harold said the other day, and I think Willie has said it, no matter where you are in the world, if you're a docker and you have a problem, troops are on the way. Yeah, and this is the big project, no, that Harold wants to take forward, and also Willie, also you too, Dennis, myself.
that created a World Maritime Alliance altogether. As you mentioned, the relationship between IDC and ITF is better than ever. You see, in the past we have sometimes were egos positions that are not good for both sides, not for one side. But I think that under Paddy's presidency, it's doing an amazing job. We wish him the best in the next weeks. And how do you see this project of the World Maritime Alliance between the workers around the world? Hey, let's sit on a table. This is what we are preparing. All together, decide we will go against the companies, against everyone who try to attack our members. We will be there. No?
Yes, yeah, and I think once we see the ILA victorious here in their master contract, I think that's again the next battle is to make sure we gather the right folks from around the world to sit and have a really frank conversation, a real no bullshit conversation about what we need, what we can do, and to assemble the structure, because we can talk about it, and all of us have talked about it. So now we got to be about it. We've got to be out there and doing the hard work and grinding to make sure that all dockers around the world have a voice, and that we set up whatever system we end up setting up, that it resonates around the world to all of the employers, that dockers are united better than they've ever been before, and it's only going to grow stronger every day.
Talking about this project of the world moving, how do you see the future of the International Dockers Council, the IDC, in this moment? We are growing so fast. Sometimes we have fear. We are preparing a podcast together with Dennis and you and myself, but we're preparing a meeting also with the Chinese Union. So you can imagine the volume, because at the end of the day, it's the two biggest economies of the world, right. The China and America, and the workers sit on a table and say, hey guys, we have to be here to defend against the corporations. So it's amazing what is going to be in the future.
Absolutely. Yeah, look for any employer to turn around one day and see that if they are implementing processes and procedures in a far-off land, that the ILWU or the ILA or MUNS or MUA are going to stand up along with every other docker around the world. I think that gives pause to the employer of, I'm not just picking a fight with one union. I pick a fight with a docker. I'm picking a fight with all dockers.
Yeah, 100%. That's the objective. So the last question, or that's thing that I want to tell you, that is your turn, Bobby, to address the people and that is watching this podcast. We have a challenge in this podcast because this podcast was around 40,000 views. So you told me yesterday you want to arrive to 100,000. So tell to the guys whatever you want to address the people and the rank and file, the members, the people that is looking. Also the employer look at, because they text me last week. We are looking the podcast that you did to Dennis.
Well, I think the message for the employers I'll save for the end, because I've got to not mince my words on that. But the message to
you're free. You hear free.
The message to our dockers, our brothers and sisters worldwide, is we're with you. Today is the beginning of a new day. The ILA has stepped out on strike, has sent a message globally. The solidarity that's going to come out of this is going to resonate for years and years and years to come. So the ILWU, I will give you my word. If you've got a problem, and if we can help, we're going to be there. Whether it's boots on the grounds, whether it's setting up meetings, the ILWU is committed to its long-standing principle of standing with workers globally. And that's what we're going to do. And we're going to do it at a better clip, with more effectiveness, working and collaborating with other unions. And I think to the employers, I think the message is, look the fuck out. Look the fuck out. The employers need to be aware.
I didn't respect better.
I'm trying to watch my words, but these are dirty, rotten sons of bitches, these employers. And you know it. And you've taken from workers. You've killed our workers. You've locked them out. You've gone into third world countries and developing countries and taken advantage of citizens and governments. And that's going to stop. It doesn't matter who's elected in the United States or any other country. Workers will prevail. We always have. Workers have been standing together since the biblical times, and we will continue to stand together. So any employer out there that's listening, share this with all your superintendents and managers. We're coming after you, so be ready.
Okay, I think there are no better way to end this podcast. Bobby, first, thank you to accept my invitation. For me, it's an authentic pleasure. You are, like Dennis, one of my mentors in this life. Also, thank you for coming here to New Jersey to support the ILA struggle. Have you here on board with also the Hawaiian guys, with Dustin, with Brandon, with all the crew, has been amazing, and more people that will come this week. And I want to address also our people, that this guy is one of the most resilient guys of the world. For me, it's a mentor also, like Dennis, I told you last week. And on top of that is my friend. And we have a lot of unfavorite times during our life that we have each other speaking, talking, and for me it's an authentic pleasure, and hope all of you enjoyed the podcast, because it's been amazing. So that's the end of the podcast on the waterfront, and remember that if we are together, it's impossible to fail.
That's right.